stories of the unmoored linger in this room like ghosts in a cemetery. You're late. The patient is inside waiting.
Some children are like acrobats, shapeshifters perhaps. I watch as they take on structure and then deconstruct completely. It's like a magic show, constantly morphing into different versions of themselves routinely. How does one adapt to a world that persists on their peril? Pandemonium prompted by black bodies, or to bear such burdens on their backs. What a day it will be when they finally collapse. The purpose of education is to birth the fruit of identity. There I go. I pack my bag, I put on my shades, and I seek to find my identity in a place where I can truly express myself, free from the borders that shadow my growth at home. I turn to education. Class is in session. Rising in the east. Sunny St. Pete's. Beaches. Running along the sand. A young black boy with untapped potential, unmatched energy, allowing nothing to weigh him down except the sand beneath his toes. He is misloved. He is mistaken. He is miseducated. Duality. If I could put it into one word, growing up in Florida, there is this constant dynamic of two worlds, both ends of life's social spectrum. This decaying underworld of drugs and crime, constantly crashing into this flourishing outer world of wealth and progress. I was in this club called Enterprise. Yeah, and our teacher, she got to choose a career for each of the students. And you basically got to live in this profession for like a week. Some kids were doctors, some were lawyers, others were bankers, you name it. I was the only black kid in my class, and I was assigned the role of a McDonald's server. You know how much damage that does to a kid? To tell a little black boy that he couldn't dream as big as the others. And so he goes home, and he buries himself, and he suffocates his hopes and desires. Pretty soon he will lose himself, because this world just wasn't made for him. As the sun sets in the west, Florida beaches turn into deep blue streets. A young black man, unsure of exactly where he is, but with a thirst for identity, crouches down, slips on his Jordans, and then sprints away. It is summertime. One of these worlds is flourishing, and the other decayed in spring. You know Coates, Ta-Nehisi, he's an author, and he wrote in one of his books that he noticed that the black men in his community would turn to aggression as a form of self-defense. They needed some way to cope in their social systems. And so they got angry, violent, started hanging on the streets, repping gang signs, carrying guns. And he noticed that at the root of this aggression was fear. Hurting souls who knew nothing more but to hurt other souls. And suddenly there I was, a hurting soul. Buff-armed and screw-faced, gold teeth and a strapped waist, I found myself in the place where Coates left the others. Nowhere. For the boys who disappeared, sincerely, Past Boy.
Black boys on football fields, white crowds and high spirits, black bodies, broad backs, beaten, bruised, broken, and burnt. What is to be made of these boys? Lots to be made off these boys. These are the good boys. The ones in jerseys and chin straps. On the field, where they belong. Shave the boy's head and no longer will he know the songs of Samson. Shave it bald and he will forget whence he came. They told me as they tossed my body onto this bare field. We have much larger fields in Africa, I told them. Though they look the same, ours are bigger. Shave the boy's head, and no longer will he know the songs of Samson. Shave it bald, and he will forget whence he came. Shave it, and no longer will he know his name. I lived there my whole life. Clarksville, Arkansas. My family still lives in Memphis. This is my hometown. Yeah, high school was fun. I ain't gonna say I was the most popular, but I was pretty decent at football and track and basketball. I mean, what can I say? I fit in with everybody. We were all on the same page. I thought. I really thought that. Outside of their jersey, they started to see a different me. One who posed a threat. It seems as though the minute you're not scoring goals or bringing home championships, you're living in their neighborhood, breathing the same air. It frightens them. They accuse you of being a criminal, eye you down every time you walk into a store, try to tear your family apart. Yet you are the one who frightens them. When I hung up that banner, Black Lives Matter, at home. Innocent children who are going to go into this world with dreams. So I have to tell them to keep their circles small. Trust nobody. And stay away from football. This one's a strong book. 245, 250 pounds. Healthy. Almost all muscle. Clean. No visible scars. Strong teeth. Hand jaw. This one won't fuss. He knows his place among us. The boy runs well, fares well in the winter too. Guaranteed to bring back home gold to you. Sold from the fields of Africa to the fields of America.
He says to me, little black boy, let the sun take you home. She will make you new. Run away from the light of the moon, her blue glow will haunt you. Be aware of your surroundings. Your search for safety is a difficult one. You wind through the California hills and land with Indians, though your peace is long come undone. Crawl through this world cautiously. Hands where they can see them, words that don't offend them. You wear a skin that threatens them. Little black boy dressed in your polo and khakis, tuck in your shirt, and avoid hoodies. No baggy jeans and white tees, no street corners and beans. Little black boy who watches the plants and follows the insects. This world will take away your innocence. Wrap it up, turn it into something incriminating. Wade through the storm like you always do. Hold close to what you value. One day, when you are found, you will return to a world that sees you for you.
God created man in his own image. Do you ever wonder what God looks like? Sometimes I do. I mean, I think about it a lot. That Bible verse is telling us that we're to be replicas of God in some way. That each of us has this common thread that identifies us with the image of God. It's strange. Growing up, I never really felt like I was made in his image. I felt as though that my being was at odds with this religion. And though I've been here a long time, this language still feels dreams that I have at night are ungodly. Dreams of men climbing up mountains and plunging into warm bodies of water. Dreams of men in gardens with Greek gods birthing giants. Dreams of men devouring the night and breaking day. Dreams of men carrying stones to burrows, blood pressing against skin, bodies turning into salt. We never had mirrors in our house growing up, so I stole one from the house down the street. And no matter how long I looked in that mirror, I never saw his reflection. No matter how long I stared, I saw someone else. He was shy, scared, sensitive. He talked with his hands, sat with his legs crossed. He never liked hanging out with the other boys. Sports were never his thing. When he got home, he wanted to play with dolls and play with his sister's easy bake oven. He loved putting on her dress and dancing around the room like no one was watching. That is, until someone was watching.
Black fathers are wary of mirrors. Reflections into their souls, somber stories of their sons. You know, the Bible says that masculinity is a narrow road. As a father, I made sure my son knew that. I did my best to set him on a straight path. There's only so much you can do, though. He was always a little soft. And I could tell he wasn't like the other boys. I really had to drill it into him. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? I couldn't have him going out into this world not knowing how to defend himself. Acting all feminine, crying over little things. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just, people treat you differently when you're different. And that's just the truth of it. I see the way he talks with his hands, sits with his legs crossed. He leans when he stands and he sways when he walks. Boys don't do that. It's not a good look. People are going to say things about him. He's going to get bullied. You think I want my son being treated like some social leper? Do you think that this doesn't hurt me just as much as I know it's hurting him? He's my son, for Christ's sake. Every day I have to tell him to pretend like his feelings don't exist. To isolate his emotions and disconnect our sensitivity. I just want him to be okay. You know, the problem with mirrors, when you look into them long enough, your reflection starts to become distorted. You ever noticed that? Father used to say, Boys aren't supposed to like other boys. It's not a good look. He's a good kid. That boy, the day he was born, I thought, man, there's something about him. Just doesn't seem right. Ungodly, almost. Then days like this come around when you're standing there watching your son dance around the mirror in his sister's dress. And God speaks to you. Like Abraham and Isaac. He says to walk up behind him. Give him a hug. And wrap a cord around his neck. And with every breath of air that he gasps for, think about how no one is going to pick on him again. How he'll finally get to be okay for once.
Unbeknownst to me, the systems that are supposed to aid me in my search for identity aim to destroy me. I find myself grounded in instruction, submitted without restraint. Masked by the silhouette of my oppression. Somehow, this abyss feels like peace. I possess the ability to release, to choose to see, yet I stay put, subject to this experiment. I watch as my temple deteriorates.
Not let these guys speak the death of me. I will not let these
Each
guys
fiber of
speak
my
the death of me.
being wanders into a different direction. He's a past boy too. I can tell. His colors are faded. It's picture day! Smile for the camera. Present the best version of yourself and forget all else. You're not like the others. You're smart and very well spoken. You don't dress like them. You read books. You're not loud and ghetto. You're gentle and just so easy for me to talk to. You're friendly and you get along with everyone. You make me comfortable. I like you. You're different. I'm different. I like you too, but I don't like when you tell me that I'm black but I act white. I don't like when you tell me that I'm the only black guy that your parents would allow to come over. I don't like when you tell me that you don't like being around my friends. Or when you ask me, why can't they all be like you? And I don't like when you make me question my individuality. But you like me. Because I'm different.
A mixed boy stumbles upon his ambiguous selfhood, unattached from his heritage, unaware of his true colors. He searches for a place to call home. Soon realizes he's from nowhere. Where's your accent, boy? Did you always speak this way? Listen to the words you use and the things you say. Enunciating and all. For, not fur. Oh, and plenty, not plenty. I think there's too much light in them. Colors and all being washed away. What? You turning white? Letting them blur your sight? Oh, you're so polite. Do know where you come from, right? You under this hue. My boy, you have fallen on broken land, been farmed, freed, and reeled back in again. Why do you still endure their reality when you exist as a separate entity? My dad's from Jamaica. He has this really thick accent, this mellifluous sound. My mom, on the other hand, she's Mexican. So I thought, it was okay for people to intermingle. And we never talked about race. I didn't even know what it was or what it meant to be black or white or Hispanic. I grew up with these blinders on. We lived in a predominantly white neighborhood. All the white kids were doing theater. So I did too. You know something? All the plays that I've been in were written by white people. Needless to say, I've had to play a lot of traditionally white roles. I don't know. Something about these people. Something that felt unreal. I don't know. But whatever it was, it had evaded me in my own life. It was fun being up there, stepping into their privilege for a while. Only thing is, I wanted it. All the time. I think that we should reevaluate what we're really asking of our actors of color when we ask them to step into these traditionally white roles. Are we asking them to isolate a part of their identity? And play an dangerously addictive but unachievable realm? I like it here.
The gods who guide your existence work in opposition to mine. Ever since my arrival, they have been showing me visions of my demise. They say that in America, my body is fragile, though malleable, can be bent at any moment. But I say, break me. Bust my body on this concrete, then wrap me up, put me in a box, let me return to cellar and ship me back home, somewhere beyond this field. There's this gap between white suburbia and the raw African American experience. One has been polished, has been pieced, has been presented with the illusion of progression. The other has been suffocated, has been second class, has simply survived. I grew up in the hood, a little past the North Shore. Johnson, the field. Yeah, that's what we called it. We had this big field that separated our town from the white folks a few miles down the road. They were doing much better than us, of course. They had the really nice houses and cars. They dressed really fancy. And the schools were much better than ours. As kids, we would run through the field and stop right before it broke into the North Shore. We'd just hide there and watch them. Kind of felt like we were watching a play. Like they were actors presenting some sort of characters. Everything seemed well thought out and perfect. Like they had rehearsed this a million times and this was the final, beautiful product. Our life past the field didn't look much like theirs. We hadn't rehearsed it as much. Or rather, we weren't given as much rehearsal time.
Look, I like you. You seem like a cool fella. I wouldn't let my daughter date you. Oh, but to each his own. You're out there rioting, making all this fuss. For what? Here's the thing. We all live in the same world. No one's treating you unfairly because of your skin color. Oh, the exact same reality exists for us all. Why create separation when you can blend in? Oh, okay. Are they ready? All right. How's this? No? Life in North Shore is great! It's like something out of a movie. It's picturesque. We have big houses, nice cars, great jobs, and good health care. It's all good. The whole Black Lives Matter thing. I just think it's a bit trivial. Yeah. We do. Decent ones. Ones who aren't criminals. Oh, yes. Criminals. I'm sorry, but that's what's wrong with the black community. The minute someone screams racism, you go into anaphylactic shock. What's wrong with you? You've got to stop thinking with your skin. I mean, I know it's the largest organ on the body, but but come on! Oh, look how far sympathize with criminals. Stop making everything about race. It's about how you present yourself. You know, the presentation of self, like Irving Goffman talked about. How you want others to see you, you get to choose that. Everyone on this earth, they get to choose. People don't judge you based on the color of your skin. Oh, they base you judged on how you present yourself. So the next time you complain about over-policing or discrimination, oh, look at the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you act.
Finally, I am at the summit, draped in my matte black robe and golden sash. I take in the world around me. It seems that my skin has become pale, absent of the color that once vibrated through my veins. After a dreadful 12-year journey, I still have yet to find my identity.
He who has endured irredeemable calamity. He who has been stripped of his sanctity.
He who has been set in the palms of danger, his presence suffocated, his aura reduced, his self split in two.
There's an acting teacher, Viola Spolin, and she used to study children in poor neighborhoods, and she noticed that these children, they would play these games. To escape reality. They would enter a world where they could be anything but themselves. Have you ever pretended to be white? I know it sounds absurd, but my sister and I, we play these games where we pretend to be white people. It just seemed like life was better for them, I guess. It just seemed smoother. Look, the people that look like us, they just weren't doing well. And it seemed from the moment I began to develop a consciousness, I began to question the why of this experience. The why of this color. Why was this my experience? Why was it that we were the ones who occupied the ghettos and everything that came with it? Who placed us here? It seemed that no one had the answers. But when we went inside, we saw a reality on TV that was different world. One that seemed unachievable to us, and that the only way to be a part of it was to pretend. We'd imagine what it would be like to be one of them. my sister, she always hated her name. She said it was too black. She wanted to change it to something like Sally or something with a little less seasoning. And 10 years later, she started skin bleaching, wearing blue contacts, straightening her hair. She lost herself, never to be found again.
She wipes away her father's color from her skin with makeup wipes and citric acid. She always thought that the white dolls were prettier. Even the black dolls had straight hair. One day she will pull these Africas from her roots in hopes to be bald. You know, I always wanted to be the first black woman president. I mean, I think America is ready for a black woman to be president. I mean, people thought that we weren't ready for Obama, and we were. And you know, I think that's great that we had him. Woohoo! Whatever. But what about us? Intersectionality tells us that the experience of a black woman is far worse than that of a black man. I mean, we have to deal with the disadvantages of racism and misogyny on top of that. And most men hate women, so it's honestly giving pre-1920s. And I am sick of it. Did you know that black women hold the highest number of PhDs in the USA? I mean, look at all the countries with women leaders. They are doing so well. See what happens when you put us in charge? We strengthen nations. It's just the thing that we do. And female-led countries are much more diverse. So we all know what that means. Men are all racist. We've grown on that. I mean, take a walk in a black woman's shoes. Everyone makes you feel like your entire existence is radical. I wear an afro, radical. I refer to you as sweet, radical. I mean, this is some straight up insane shit. I'm not hyperbolizing my conditions here, people. This is my reality. There has never been enough space for black women. If there were, we wouldn't be too loud. If there were, we wouldn't be too angry. If there were, you wouldn't mix our names and faces up. Bitch, we don't all look the same. If there were enough space for black women, there'd be more of us sitting in those seats. Sleepover. Melissa Brewster's house. Oh, you know, the kind where someone suggests that we style each other's hair. Oh, mine doesn't do that. You have to wet it first. No heat. That won't be good. Never thought about relaxing. Maybe I should. No, thanks. I'll just do it myself. That's how it all started. The assimilation. The urge to be like someone else. The need to erase all of yourself. You start to talk less, dress more modestly, only speak when spoken to, and let people walk all over you. Mom used to say to me, you have hair like wool growing from the roots of gold. You have hair like wool growing from the roots of gold. You have hair like wool growing from the roots of gold. You have hair
bathe together, talk amongst each other. But at the end of the day, the bluebirds go home with the bluebirds, and the redbirds go home with the redbirds. Dating was hard, not only for me, but for other black girls in Clarksville. There was this unspoken rule about interracial relationships. We were forbidden to date outside of a race, even in church. It made it known that no interest should be shown in the white boys. Sadly for me, I was infatuated with the pastor's son. He was older, smarter, funnier. And yeah, I kind of liked that. Every Sunday, I looked my best just for him, hoping that maybe one day he'd notice me. And one day, he did. At youth group, when he called me a nigger, I remember sitting there, pausing for a beat, absorbing the hurt. Stings to be called that. You start to devalue yourself, believing that you are nothing more. It rings in your head over and over how stupid you were to believe that you could have him. You start to develop this vacancy inside. What can I say about Dennis? You know what it's like stepping on eggshells when addressing racial topics with some white people? What I mean is that usually they like to leave the conversation all up to us. But Dennis is different. He doesn't have that fear of fragility or fear of overstepping, which I appreciate so much. He has empathy, but most importantly, he supports me.
To the drunk white boy at the party who thinks that his flannel is so cool. You come up to me with whiskey smothered breath, cologne exuding arrogance, and your shirt that literally says douchebag. How flattering. No, I don't want to dance with you. You who can't even stand straight. You who can't even form words. And you who only talks to me when you're drunk. You see, I have always liked you, drunk white boy. That is, when you're not a drunk white boy. You walk around campus holding your eco-friendly water bottles, walking with your friends, you pretend that I don't exist. You pretend that you don't reply to all my Snapchat stories. You pretend that you don't text me every night. Why is it that you only talk to me at parties? In a room so dark, you can barely even see me. Oh, that's why. Because no one can see me. You can't bring a black girl home to your conservative family members, or let me hang around your friends who make racist jokes, or hold my hand in front of the white girls that think that they are better than me. I just don't fit into your world. So you hide me. Stuff me into a closet until you're ready to play with me. Do you remember when your friends came over unexpectedly and you told me to get in the closet? Yeah. My affection for you is fading, drunk white boy. I'm starting to think that maybe you don't deserve me. That maybe this is just not meant to be. So I walk home, alone, holding back tears, but holding closer to my dignity. One day you will regret the way that you treated me. Until then, peace be.
At nightfall, black women have dreams of their ancestors, spirits who whisper to them. Black women, shield your daughters. Hide these dreams. If you let their value shine, someone will try to buy them. Don't teach them how to adopted too. Dead of the night, it was still, silent, suffering. Shackled onto strange land, she did not speak the language. She adapted. She thrived. And he took notice. He has been watching her closely. He mistakes her innocent smile for seduction. His ocean deep eyes wave across her shallow body. He rapes her in the shed near the river. No one heard a thing. He left her there to die against the rotten, spongy wood of the cabin table, blaming herself for being too open, too innocent, too feminine. Years later, her descendants hold on to this trauma. They remember her hurts. She lives with them, collecting their bodies every night. As it is only in death, may these lost souls return home.
Her grandmother whispers to her, "Darling, you can't do anything in this town without white people. You better stay on their good side." My family went on this trip to Jackson, Mississippi, and I had never seen so many black people in one place. I mean, this atmosphere was bursting with this energy, this color that I had been so out of touch with. It was an awakening. I felt at home. You see, Clarksville is a very peculiar place. Everything that was present in thriving black communities was absent for us. Black churches disappeared. Black schools vanished. And we just tried to fit in wherever. And after our facilities closed down, a couple of us went to the Lighthouse Christian Center. It was predominantly white. And there was this old white lady who refused to shake our hands, I remember, or even acknowledge us. And you start to see less and less white people at every service, like we'd all just scared them away or something. But you know, here, in reality, in Clarksville, black people do not have an identity. They see stuff on TV and then mimic it. We are in a reparative search for safety and security. We need something to latch on to, people to commune with. When there's no culture, no comfort, we become lifeless, like zombies, lost in this gray area.
Ghostly shell, once golden daylight, now vacant, muted, like tumbleweeds, spinning elegies, wandering around yet another unfamiliar twilight zone. Well, I guess that's all the time we have. See you next week, Doc.